you need to have a $10,000 setup to make it on YouTube. I'm just kidding. What's going on, guys? Today I want to talk to you guys about possible camera options for YouTube. Okay, so starting off my list with an easy or free, well, kind of free, is your phone. If you don't have a phone, you have a tablet or something that has a camera inside, that'll work just fine. Truth is, in this modern day, almost everyone who is online has some kind of device with a camera on there that's more than usable. For example, right now I'm using my iPhone 12 Pro Max. Could I get a better image overall? Yeah, but this is more than fine just starting out. Next, if you're thinking I use my phone way too often for phone calls, texts, or social media, and I need to have my phone at the ready to be used at any point, we can talk about webcams. Now with webcams comes a lot of caveats. The first one is being that you're kind of stuck to where you are. Wherever it's connected to, if you want to shoot any kind of vlogs or move around and be portable at any point, you're just stuck to wherever the webcam is mounted at. Another big caveat in my opinion is webcams are kind of trailing behind in technology. They are starting to catch up, but once you start getting high enough up there, you kind of might start seeing like the price is kind of near buying a used DSLR mirrorless camera. Still though, for all of its limits, if your goal is to sit here in studio, you can make do with a webcam with proper lighting, especially if you're going to do something like streaming or something where you don't have to be full screen and you just want to sit here like this and just be presentable. It'll look good enough. Your third option is action cams. Now, if you go used, you can get them for around the same price as a higher end webcam, depending on how high end of a webcam, but overall you'll still get around the same quality, and it'll also give you the ability to travel and just be, like I said in the last one, just be more portable. And for someone who does like really kind of adventurous stuff like snowboarding, skiing, skateboarding, or any kind of activity with a lot of movement, then action cams is by far your best option. I would say go look at GoPro and DJIs, see which ones best fulfill your needs, and just honestly kind of just pick whichever one that you think would best apply for you. Now, speaking of DJI, they have a camera that I think for content creators is really hard to beat for the price, and that's the DJI Pocket 3. Now, I haven't used it, nor am I sponsored by DJI or anything like that, but their creator combo, I think it gives you everything you would ever need to make high quality videos. I'm not sure of its streaming capabilities, but it's very compact, and I know if you're like me, someone who gets uncomfortable vlogging outside around other people when you start like getting really in your head, I know I can get uncomfortable using my camera in public. With its size and video quality, it just seems like the perfect all-around camera for just making videos, especially for beginners. And again, if you're someone like me who doesn't just feel comfortable lugging around a big camera like this, and you're also still someone who doesn't want to use their phone, and let's say you're unfamiliar with using a mirrorless camera like this, I think the Pocket 3 is hands down the best option. This takes me to my final option, which is DSLR and mirrorless camera bodies. Now, if you're just starting out, I got to get three options. The first one is a little bit older, but it's the Canon M50 Mark II. For photos, this thing is perfect, and for video, it gives you everything you need, which I think is very important. It's in a lot of ways very similar to the Canon 80D. For those of you who don't know, the Canon 80D was basically the camera of choice for YouTubers around 5 or 7 years ago, so around Casey Neistat's time and anybody like that you could think of vlogging back then that was like really making a name for themselves. They were more than likely using the Canon 80D. Now the Canon M50 is basically a slightly more modern Canon 80D, and some creators still use the Canon M50 to this day. Actually, it has a lot of lens options, and it's a great starter camera and gives you a lot of room to grow, especially if you don't really know what you're doing, but you just want to hit record and make sure it looks good. The Canon M50 does exactly that. Its biggest downside is the fact that it is old. So it does shoot 4K, but you lose autofocus and it crops in so heavy that it just makes very tight shots. Like you can't really move a lot. So you're kind of stuck at 1080p, but if you get a good lens, it should be more than fine. I mean, what you're looking at right now is 1080p. I just render it out in 4K so I can get YouTube's higher bitrate threshold, but that has nothing to do with the image quality. 1080p varies a bunch, just like 4Ks vary a bunch. There's a lot more that goes into it than just the resolution. The next camera around this range is the Sony ZV-E10. This camera, for the money, gives you what I would consider the best image quality and is arguably the most versatile. With it being a Sony, it has amazing autofocus plus a great 4K image, and you have plenty of lenses from Sony and third-party options. Its biggest downside would probably be its stabilization. So you have to use active stab, which crops in pretty heavily, same thing like with the Canon. Not as much, to be fair, but it still does crop in a good bunch. Or you can use catalyst browse, which Sony does give all of his Sony users for free. It takes gyro data, which pretty much just makes your footage look very stable. But if you don't have a good PC, it can take a long time to render out one clip, and you have to render out your clips one by one. So you have to sit there, wait, and it can be quite time consuming. So it's not the ideal choice, but it's still an option. But if you plan to set it up on a tripod, you honestly can't go wrong with the camera. You're not going to really outbeat it for its price. The last camera that I would consider around this price range is the Nikon Z30. This camera has good colors and good enough stabilization, so you're free to use it in studio or use it just, again, traveling. It also shoots 4K, which gives you kind of the best of both worlds between the Canon and the Sony option I just listed to you. The one downside of Nikon is their lenses, especially for their APS-C mount. You're kind of stuck with what you got. You have very limited options, which does kind of suck. But again, just starting out, just learning how to use a camera, this camera just gives you everything you absolutely need and could want, all without having to think too much. But definitely if you want room to grow and stuff like that, the other two look a little bit more tempting. But if you just wanted to start out and hit record and just kind of nail everything and then slowly start to learn over time, it should be good enough to keep you going for the next few years before you decide on which camera company you really want to start investing money in. Now this brings me to my final point. No matter where you look, every camera company is gonna have their flaws. You just have to look at which flaw you think you can live with and start learning from there. It's important to remember that everything I've mentioned before is very entry level. After these price ranges, you can go from $1,000 to $4,000 camera bodies and even more expensive. And don't get me started on lenses, because they can go just as high, if not higher. And at those price ranges, you really need to know what you want / need for your camera, because otherwise you're going to waste thousands and thousands of dollars trying to figure out what is best for you. For example, I use the Panasonic S5 Mark II because it's the camera that checks off the most boxes for me. Gives me a ton of flexibility for video, has great stabilization, love the colors in it, also has really good photos for when I take family photos and for holidays and special events. However, this camera body and lens combo runs you around $2K, and there's a lot of different camera bodies and lens combinations around the same price point. So again, it kind of comes down to what you specifically need and what you want out of your higher end camera. What if you guys want me to go in depth about the higher end spectrum of cameras and just some options that you may have? Please let me know down in the comments. I definitely hope that this video helped anyone looking at a camera around this holiday season. Links to every camera that I mentioned will be down below in the description. I hope everyone has a great day, and I hope all of you have a happy holidays. Don't forget to like the video if it helped you at all, and I shall catch you guys in my next video. Peace.